want to talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You want to talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
Welcome back to Talk to Solomon. That's me, Stan Solomon, my co-host.
Chief Steve.
And my co-host from afar, from freedomradio.us, is Brent Johnson. Brent, you're with us.
Yes, I am, and it's a pleasure to be back.
All right. Our guest is Dr. Philip Bralich, who has written taxtherich.name, and it offers a good kick in the gridlock. Doctor, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. We always like to have bright people. Now, I read some of your works. Just tell people what you're trying to accomplish.
Basically, what I'm trying to accomplish is in that title, trying to give the gridlock a good kick. I'm interested in talking to both sides of the aisle. I'm interested in talking to the center. I'm interested in talking about financial issues. I have some major and personal disagreements based on a long reading history in psychology and philosophy that I'd like to express in a way that people can understand. Basically, and this is a bit controversial, I'm saying that capitalism is still Marxism and it's not free enterprise. I'm saying that the family of four income is far more important for grounding the U.S. economy than the bottom line ever could be, and that a big part of the problem we're having is a focus on the bottom line rather than the family of four income. And that a focus on the I can get wordy, excuse me. A focus on the family of four income, on the bottom line, is distracting us from the family of four income. And, you know, I don't mind people being millionaires, but there's a whole lot of family of four income sitting in their pockets. And I'd like to use philosophy and psychology in a simpler than Marx or Hegel kind of a way to point out how we might address this.
All right. Well, I read some of your work, and I guess you would, in addressing different groups, I'm just to the right of ridiculous. Chief Steve is closer to being sane, and Brent is to the right of me. So you're going to have that particular audience for this particular show. Now, let me start with France just elected a socialist, a proclaimed socialist as their president. French aren't very smart people. He immediately announced a new tax rate that I think addresses your thought process somewhat, and saying, well, we have a lot of people that are wealthy, so we need to take their money and give it to government so government can make things better for those that are not wealthy. Now, there are a couple of problems with that, and that is government never makes things better for anybody but themselves. And secondly, when you take from those who have, you don't make things better for this family of four you're talking about. You make things worse, because everything comes from investment, and those who have investment dollars are the ones who invest, logically. Now, I'll let you respond to that, and then we'll go around the horn here.
Well, I think the Founding Fathers might disagree about the fact that we can't address these problems in a different way. And I think they might disagree that government always causes problems. I think the main thing is the Founding Fathers established a government that actually worked at that time, but they had no sense whatsoever of Marxism. That's a very new thing. The word capital never existed until Marx invented it. And that invention has to do with a sense of alienation from ourselves as workers, he called it, and as producers of goods and services. That alienation has led to a sense of sort of this amorphous thing called capital that the communists want to take back and the capitalists want to take charge of, leaving us sort of in the middle. And the Founding Fathers simply did not address what a free enterprise economy was in the face of that. For them, goods, services, labor, and so forth were something unalienable like all our rights.
Well, yes and no. I mean, capitalism goes back approximately 5,000 years to the founding of the Jewish faith, and they utilized the use of quote-unquote capital in their societies, even though they didn't have quite what we would call today capitalism, but the Jews survived by being capitalists. That's the only reason there are Jews left in the world, because they used their capital in order to leverage, to accomplish things, to lend, whatever it was, all the way back, I think of when they helped to provide the ransom for Richard the Lionhearted. But let me not monopolize here. Let me go to Brent next.
Ayn Rand wrote a brilliant book called The Fountainhead, and there was a movie starring Gary Cooper in the 50s of that same name. And the premise of the story was that there was an architect by the name of Howard Rourke who wanted to do architecture differently than architecture had been done throughout the ages. And he was reviled and he was abused simply because he wanted to be different. In the end, there was a dichotomy in this movie, in this story, between one section of the people who said that your right to live should be based upon what you do for others. You should not be allowed to live without contributing your skills to other people for the betterment of all. The other side of the coin was, I have no obligation whatsoever to do one thing for anybody else. My right to live for my own sake is absolutely unalienable. The Founding Fathers actually did consider government, all government, to be a necessary evil. They considered government to be fundamentally evil. And that's why they have constitutions to chain down government. So I must ask you, Doctor, I must ask you what your position is. Is it your position that people should not be allowed to exist unless they give of themselves for the collective? Or do you stand on behalf of the individual right to do things just because I exist?
Doctor?
Well, I'm going to sound like a fudger on that one. Basically, I think people, especially in a Christian country, have a right and a responsibility to do things for other people, but they shouldn't not do things for themselves as well. I'm not against profit, and I'm not against people doing things for other people. This living solely for yourself, I think, is based in selfishness and greed, and it is a right, I guess, in some sense. But it really is not a fundamental Christian or founding father sort of idea. You don't really contribute to the collective. You contribute to your fellow man. The collective is this amorphous consensus-driven kind of crowd, more like a mob than it is like free men. Giving to free men and giving to a consensus, I think, is very, very different. Living totally selfish, I think, is wrong. But honestly, I think people do have a right to do that. Giving of yourself as a Christian, as just a good moral human being, I think is almost a human mandate. But giving to the collective, I think, is very different than giving to free men, giving to free enterprise, and giving to support a system built by the Founding Fathers. And again, to reiterate a little bit, who didn't really see capital or communism as capitalism. They saw men working hard, improving their skills, and developing themselves and their families and the world. Again, the family of four income, grounding things. They take care of their families. They live for their family, not for themselves. And they give to others. Then they give to free men. And giving to the collective, I think, is dead wrong as a consensus-driven mob.
I'm not quite sure I follow 100% what you're saying there, Dr. Bralich. Are you saying that if an individual or a couple, I like the fact you mentioned family, not two dogs, a watermelon, and a homosexual, and no insult to watermelons here, but the fact is, if you have a man and a woman who have children, and if they own a piece of ground, and they spend their entire lives tilling the ground, feeding themselves, taking from what's on their ground to clothe and shelter themselves without selling to or buying from others, is that in your mind wrong?
I guess it's all right. It sounds like a pretty isolated kind of existence. Certainly they have a right to do it. There's no question about that. occupiers, hippies, they have thoughts like that. They like to do things like that. Again, they have the right to do it. Living solely for your family, I think, is a dedicated family man or a dedicated family woman for that matter. But at the same time, there are other families out there. Again, this Christian impetus to give to others, the human impetus to give to others, needs to be tempered by the danger of giving to the collective. It needs to be tempered by the danger of soul selfishness, such as living only for yourself. Again, which is a right, and I think a right and a problem within our rights. We guaranteed freedom of religion, we guaranteed free press, we guaranteed free speech, and we guaranteed people the right to make money as they saw fit. And I also see it, I understand the problem that people have with homosexuality. I have less of a problem, but I'm certainly not without one. And I believe that a widow or an orphan or some guy who's just isolated and lonely and lives by himself have a right to make money as well. But again, there is this impetus to give back as a human being, as a Christian, probably as Muslims and Jews and whatever else we have. And just a simple, good-hearted human being wants to give back, but I think it's wrong to give the collective. I think it's wrong to be a capitalist and take it all yourself. Again, I'm not saying that all capitalists are selfish, although I do say that sometimes just to be challenging. It is a right to be a capitalist. It is a right and a human desire and moral responsibility to give back, but I don't want to give to the collective. I don't want to give to the super rich. I want to take care of families, free men, and people who are willing to work for the family of four income and make that the grounding matter and make free enterprise, or at least ask the founding fathers or experts on the founding fathers to look at what they really thought of free enterprise without the bugaboo of communism and capitalism standing in their way. That was something they simply didn't know about. We do know that there was a way of seeing capitalism going back to 5,000 years. I'm fine with that. But the word capital and capitalism and communism was coined by Marx. Marx is given credit for coining that term. Marx's term came from a fundamental misunderstanding of Hegel, in which this alienation, which came from the coming of science and a tremendous crisis of faith for the Western world, this alienation of our work, of ourselves as employees, and of our goods and services and our skills, feeling that that belongs to your boss, feeling that that belongs to the right wing, it belongs to the left wing, it belongs to the feminazis, a word that doesn't bother me, that encourages me sometimes. And I am a liberal. I'm just left of Chomsky and just a little bit right of Jesus. But I like the conservatives, and we used to have a world where conservatives and liberals got along. We all thought in terms of the family of four income, and I'm confused and conflicted, and I think there's a problem right in the alienation that Marx was trying to address that causes both the capitalist aristocracy and the communist rebellion based on that misunderstanding and that sense of alienation. And the control of the masses, the control of the mob, comes from wanting to take over that sense of alienation rather than encouraging people to be free men and individuals.
I'm going to call you Professor for a moment, and I appreciate your candidness in mentioning that you're just to the left of Lenin.
Not Lenin. I hate Lenin. I hate Marx.
Well, Chomsky is to the left of Lenin, so if you're to the left of Chomsky, and I've had him on my show before, and by the way, I do have a endearing term for Chomsky. I just call him a putz. All right. At any rate, let me ask the chief here to join our discussion.
Well, first of all, Jesus Christ was not a liberal. He's the Son of God, and his earthly form, he was the son of a Jewish carpenter. He was a Jew. So that takes away that liberal label right away. Also, in the Bible, there's a story of the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan story would not be in the Bible without a rich man who had earned wealth to help out a poor soul. And the third thing is human nature. Human nature, no human being appreciates what's given to them. They appreciate what they work for and strive for. So the more we give to somebody, without their truly being in need of physical need or they're starving to death, it's just a waste of time and energy because it only creates more want without effort and no appreciation whatsoever. But let me just say one more thing, if I can, please.
Yes.
Our founding fathers were very, very smart, and they may not have heard the word communism or Marxism or anything else. They heard the word tyranny. They knew what that was.
Yeah.
They knew what oppressive regulations were. They knew what oppressive taxes were, and that's why they went to war, a physical war, to stop that. And also we go back to the pilgrims that came to this country at Plymouth Rock. Thank you very much. They first started a socialistic network of goods and services and almost starved to death. After the first year, they changed that and went to a capitalistic society, capitalistic way of doing things, and that's where the Thanksgiving story came in, where they had so much food, they can invite the Indians over and have food for everybody.
Let me throw this thought in, and well said, Chief. And then I want to go to Brent. But listen to this. You don't give things to people who need them to help them. You give things to people who need them to help yourself. If you understand Judaism and you understand the Muslim faith, which I have studied, and although most of them are out of their minds, there are some good things there, and you understand the Christian faith, you do right, not for them, but for you. That's why it worked for thousands of years. When you take God out of the equation and you only give to get a tax deduction, you only allow for others if they'll give you enough back. If you become like Obama, who in my opinion is the southern end of a horse going north, no insult to horses, then it doesn't work because it's all about me. And communism is all about the individual, even though they say it's to make things equal but awful. The reality is communism is about giving control of everything to a few morons, a few leftists, a few godless demons, and then feeling better that someone else is going to get screwed as much as you're going to get screwed. That's why it's never worked, it doesn't work, it will never work. And Brent, your thoughts?
Well, several things. Firstly, you're kind of right about that, Stan. Communism is a form of socialism. Socialism is any system at all in which the needs of the collective are given greater credence to the needs of the individual. And the problem with socialism, communism, Marxism, any of it, is that some entity, presumably a government, has to decide on what is best for the collective. And that entity inevitably ends up becoming a tyrant. I think that what the doctor has said is wonderful. Giving to others is a wonderful thing. And Stan, you're correct. You give because it is charity. It is something you do because it makes you bigger and better in the sight of God and for no other reason. So giving to others by choice is a wonderful thing. I'm happy to give to somebody who is less fortunate than I. However, giving to others by force, which is, among other ways, taxation, is a whole other story. I'm happy to give to a starving child, but I will never, ever, ever send $1 to some child care organization because 90 cents will go to some bureaucrat who is not in need, who's making $400,000 a year. Churches, temples, synagogues, they're designed for people who are in need, not government. Government should stay completely out. The proper function of government is to protect the free exercise of your rights and my rights. So I'm all for giving. I am opposed, however, to giving through force. I'm in favor of giving through choice. And Stan, if I may, I have a very, very brief clip I think runs right to the point, if I may play it.
Please.
Here we go.
My ideas are my property. They were taken from me by force, by breach of contract. No appeal was left to me. It was believed that my work belonged to others to do with as they pleased. They had a claim upon me without my consent, that it was my duty to serve them without choice or reward. I came here to say that I do not recognize anyone's right to 1 minute of my life, nor to any part of my energy, nor to any achievement of mine, no matter who makes the claim. It had to be said. The world is perishing from an orgy of self-sacrificing. I came here to be heard in the name of every man of independence still left in the world. I wanted to state my terms. I do not care to work or live on any others. My terms are a man's right to exist for his own sake.
Back to you, Stan.
Yeah, well said, well said. All right, let's get back to the professor. Go ahead, doctor.
Well, for me, again, the important issue, and again, I love that clip as well. It makes a very good point about freedom and about not having people take your work or your label and doing something with it. That's kind of a Marxist problem. But again, for me, capitalism, the capitalist aristocracy, the tyranny, and the communist potential tyranny are more the same than anything else. Getting through to the sense of family, freedom, and who do you give to, being forced to give to someone. This is the problem I was trying to get back to. I don't want to be forced to give to anyone either, but as a citizen, as a voter, I want the right to join with other voters to pool our money via the tax and create a safety net that recognizes there can be 1929 crashes, that there can be a sudden company takeover that ruins the company and all of a sudden your pension, your life is gone, that we the voter can vote to create a safety net via a pool of our money. That being said, there's also been very serious problems with a welfare state, with the social states we see in Europe, with the social state we had here, the reforms in welfare, the reforms in unemployment, but they may be going the wrong direction. We do still have the right to pool our money via the vote and not let Obama or Romney or anyone else tell us how it is that we're going to pool that money. If we decide, and this may be unfortunate, if we decide that we want 2 years of unemployment guarantees just in case, we as the voter are the ones who decide, not Mitt Romney, not Obama. So, again, there have been serious problems with the welfare state, and I don't want people to tell me what I can and can't do with my money or who I can and can't give to, but I don't mind pooling my money with as many voters are interested to create a safety net for the family of four. So if that husband gets laid off because of bad management of his company and he's suddenly left what looked like with no job when it looked like a job for life, has something to do. He has 6 months or 2 years. What does it take him to find a good company? What does it take for that guy? 6 months of unemployment, 2 years of unemployment? Is he forced to find $1 million job simply because a safety net is not there? Is he forced to start looking at, we don't want that kind of money because the safety net is not there? I think we should have a safety net. I think the voter has the right to decide, but at the same time, it needs to be properly policed.
Well, Professor, let me ask you this question.
I agree completely. I think that's wonderful. Okay, as long as I have the choice not to participate.
Yeah, Brett, you just read my mind. I was just going to say, there's something called the fair tax. Don't know if you've studied it, Professor, but the fair tax says you only pay when you buy something. So if you don't buy anything, you don't pay anything. The government's not in your business, which is unconstitutional, unquestionably from the beginning, although you can ask Judge Roberts because his head is still stuck up his Pelosi. But the fact is that if you want to pool your money with like-minded individuals, God bless you. As long as I, who don't share that particular feeling, because I know that if you pool your money and give it to the government to handle, if they take in $100, $100 million, $100 billion, or $100 trillion, that they'll help 1/10 as many people as Chief and I will if we just pool our money together, don't have any bureaucracy involved, and then when someone needs $1, we give them $1, they get $1 instead of getting a dime. So the frustration is, if it's majority rule, you've got mob rule. That's what you're talking about with the vote. That's why Obama and his ilk sucks, want every illegal to be able to vote. They want dead people to be able to vote. They want people with multiple personalities to vote multiple times. They want a majority, even if it's an imagined one, and then they want to mandate that I follow that majority. And I say, not no, but hell no. Chief?
Right on. You've hit the nail on the head again, like you always do. But again, if you want to pool your money together, I suggest you do it with a charity or a private entity. And if government pensions now are destroying cities and towns all over the country because they can't afford the government pensions. So the answer is not a government pension plan that's going to help people, but a private pension plan. You want to pool their money there and do that? Great. More power to them.
Professor, we have just a minute left. I'm going to give it to you. Your final thoughts, please.
Okay, well, I think the pooling the money, right now the right wing and the left wing are arguing over this. I think both have the absolute right to pool their money. The right wing right now doesn't want an awful lot of things. The left wing wants more via pooling their money, sometimes just via laziness and foolishness, like many people say. But we have the right, and I'd rather have a government committee of family of 4 employees making decisions than Bill Gates, Mitt Romney, Obama, or any individual potential despot or aristocratic self-appointed genius trying to make decisions for us. I don't want Bill Gates deciding what art is. I'd rather have a committee of PhDs, and I don't want the sort of liberals we had in 25 years ago who didn't know art from a twisted, rusted statue. But we do have the right. The right wing right now is saying no to an awful lot of the safety net. The left is saying yes. It needs to be policed. We do have that right, but I don't want Bill Gates making a decision. I don't want Mitt Romney making a decision. I want family of 4 government employees who don't need a yacht or a $100,000 bonus or a 6-figure or a 7-figure annual income to make these decisions.
Well, I appreciate your good thoughts. I think if you get a group of PhDs together, what you have is a bunch of folks that can tell you it's raining but don't have the sense of coming out of it. Professor, it's been an interesting half hour. We'll be glad to have you back. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back with more here on Talk to Solomon. You have a computer, if you're alive today, which means you have a hard drive, which means it's going to break down. Mosey, the backup people, for thousands, for Stan, for thousands of people, for tens of thousands of people, is simply common sense. You go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and sign up. It's just a few dollars a month. Let me tell you something. We had a break-in. They stole our whole computer. You know what? When they take the computer, you can't recover anything, but we had Mosey. We had the backup. We were able to restore everything simply by buying another computer. cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and give yourself common sense, peace of mind, great value, the best thing you've ever done. Sooner or later, it's going to be Mosey, the backup people. I like to eat. You like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure you're still
in
on the
the
line.
fridge.
Thank you.
But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com, check it out. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 Supercolloidal Silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get supracolloidal silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back.